So have I finally found my perfect tent? As I've said before, what is perfect for me might not be perfect for you. It's all about personal preferences and needs, and what is perfect for one person may not be perfect for someone else. Otherwise we'd all be married to the same woman and all drive the same car and all live in the same place. So on my wish list was a tent that was sub 900 grams, not ultra light, but light enough that it makes a difference, with enough headroom that I could sit up in, with enough length that I could lay down in comfortably, and with two vestibules, but not just two vestibules, but two opposing asymmetric vestibules. And I'll come on to that later. So this is the Dan Durston X Mid one person solid. It packs tiny, weighs 825 grams. I could have gone for the DCF Cuban fibre version, but yeah, it's like 500 grams or less. I'm not a lover of the Cuban fibre. I don't like the noise. I find it quite crinkly, but also I find it very see-through. And you can also get, you can only get the mesh inner with it as well. You can't get the solid, which I really wanted for this country, at least use in this country. So for the sake of a few hundred grams, I'm not really fussed about it, and it's less than half the price. So I'll pop this up now, show you how quick it takes to do it. It's very simple, very easy setup, very solid, very stable as well. So this comes with the inner and the outer detached, but I've put it up in the garden, just tested it, made sure I was happy with it, and I've attached and left the inner attached to the outer. So search and rescue coming over. And then we just put the balls in. These go tip up, and there's a little grommet on the inside which protects obviously the fly sheet. So that's just 4 pegs, which is pretty stable, but I'm going to put the side guy out as well. Okay, so I'm all set up now. Now this is a prime example as to the reason why I was mentioning earlier on about two vestibules that are asymmetrically opposite, if you know what I mean. So basically on this side of the tent, if the wind is coming from that way or this side, I can open the vestibule on the other side of it. The problem is the vestibule here, when it's open, the wind will be blowing in that way if it's coming in this side, and if it was the same way on the other side of the tent and the wind was coming from this angle, it would blow into the vestibule on that side. So the vestibule opens on this side and on that side on the other end of the tent. So a bit like the Thai G2, which is the same, but if you look at things like the Helleberg, the Alac 2, the vestibules on both sides, the doors are on the same end of the tent. So if the wind is blowing that way and your vestibules are there, both sides, absolutely fine. But if it changes and starts to blow the other way, no matter what door you've got open, the wind's going to blow into that vestibule, so you have to cook or be in there with the door shut, otherwise you're just going to get battered by the wind. Now, when I set this up, I set it up purposely because the wind was coming across the top of the mountain, hitting me and blowing down that way through the valley. So I've set everything up on the other side on that door. The wind has now changed and it's now coming from this side and it's now blowing straight into that vestibule. So very simply, all I've got to do is open the other vestibule and I'm protected from the wind like I'm cooking it. So that's what I was talking about with these asymmetric design and asymmetric designed doors and vestibules. Now you've got an air vent at each end with a Velcro tab. It will set up, as I showed you before, very sturdily with just 4 pegs. However, I'm always a belt and braces person. I never trust the weather, particularly in Wales. So I've used their existing guy out points that they supply. So these come with it, one on each corner. However, there's guy out points all around here. So there's one down the bottom there, I've put a peg in. There's one here for the vestibule. It's always worthwhile putting a peg in these anyway, because that keeps the vestibule open when you unzip the door, obviously. But I've added a guy out point to here for 2 reasons. One, stability on the side here so it doesn't flap inwards, but 2, I'll show you on the other side, it's connected to the inner, so it actually pulls the inner out and gives you more space. There is another one here which I may or may not do, and then there's one in the middle here as well, so I've guyed that one out, and then the same at the top corner, and then I've put one here on this door, same as the other side. And if you look inside here, as you can see, they are attached. This pulls the whole inner out and just gives you more shoulder width. So everything is set up now. I've got all my gear set up in this side, in this vestibule here. As you can see, there's tons of space. I've got loads spare and all my gear is out. There's space behind it, and you could even store just down here, put your boots. But on the other side, you have exactly the same again. So I've just chucked my bag in the vestibule. So my bag is in there, and there is tons of space in that vestibule as well. The doors are magnetic closed, so I quite like this on the tarp tent, the dipole that I had that was sent out to me, and I've just rolled these up tightly, put the magnet on, and it's quite windy. I didn't roll them up properly, and this is really flapping. So I rolled it from the bottom upwards, put it on here, and it's solid, absolutely fine. Trekking pole bottoms, they've got little loops that attach to the inner, so it keeps the inner pulled out. And then at the top here is where the trekking pole tops points go into, a little grommet, and you've even got an adjuster here to tighten and loosen the inner, so if you want it higher or lower. But my gear's all set up. I've got my light tour mat, my flex tail pillow. Because of the design of this, it's at an angle, it's not square ended, it goes sort of triangular. So you've actually got space above your head and then space below your feet, so you've got places to chuck stuff. Me sitting on my mat, sitting up fully, I can just about feel the top with my hat on. And that's just pushing myself up, which I wouldn't do. So there is plenty of space in here for me. I can't remember the dimensions. I believe it's 90 inches long, the inner. Whatever that is in feet, 8 foot, which is corner to corner. So this mat is 196, 194 centimetres. So it's longer than me. I fit in here. My feet do not touch the end and my head doesn't touch the other end. So it's absolutely perfect for me. Inside you have 2 mesh pockets, and what's quite nice is these have an elasticated top on them, so nothing falls out. There's a little loop here for a light, and the same up here, you got another mesh pocket, another loop for a light, so depending upon which end you want to sit at, you can have the light wherever you like. The door ties are a bit weird on the inside. They are literally 2 elasticated bungee cords. So you roll it up and you just tie a single knot. What's quite good about it is it just one knot locks it really, really well. Doing that in the freezing cold with gloves on, I don't know, might be a bit of a pain. I may look at adapting something like having a slide lock on it. It'd be quite easy just to put a slide lock on one and then you can just thread it through and pull it tight. So I might change that. But other than that, this is a pretty good tent. You know, I'm quite amazed at how well these magnetic catches work. And if you look at the tent door now, it doesn't feel like there's any wind in here at all, or any wind outside. But watch, if I undo this clip, it's pretty windy, but it works really, really well. You wouldn't know there was any wind at all. And there it is, done back up again. Right, it's 10 o'clock at night now. I'm going to get an early night because I've got an early start in the morning. So I will tell you guys what I think of my final thoughts on this tent tomorrow. Calm of the inside. It is about 5:30 in the morning now, and the wind has been battering this tent all night long, and you can't really notice it. It's rock solid. There is a bit of movement, yeah, a little bit, but it's really held its ground well. I'm impressed. It's pretty windy out. So I haven't got my anemometer with me. This is blowing me quite strong. It's not blowing me over, but it's strong enough. But this thing is like a limpet. It's just stuck to the ground. Absolutely solid. I'm very impressed. I'm very cold. Okay, so this is it. In just with 4 pegs on it. Nothing else, no guy outlines. We're hitting gusts of, I would say, 35 more miles per hour. Well, not gusts, but constant. It's pretty bleak and windy up here. But as you can see, it's still holding. There's no real strain. It just needs a couple of little peg out points in this sort of wind. And it's spot on. So is it the perfect tent? Well, after a night getting battered in these winds, I'm quite happy with the performance. There's 2 things that I would change. One is a nice have, the other one is, I think, a bit more essential. First off, a double zip, 2-way zip would be ideal on the doors, just so you can open and vent the top part of it instead of just a 1-way zipper. I don't know how doable that is on these AquaGuard zips because they're waterproof zips as opposed to a storm flap. I hate storm flaps on tents, they always flap, so they're never ideal. The other, although I mentioned how good the magnetic door stays are, the wind has turned a bit this morning, so it's coming a bit more of an angle across the tent as opposed to from behind it, and it's struggling to hold the door with just one magnetic strap. If there was another one sort of 2/3 of the way down, I was going to add a few grams onto the weight of the tent next to nothing, but that would then hold it perfectly because the bottom starts to flap, which then pulls out the rest of it. And I've tried several times to get it really tight, and it's not exactly perfect. It will still hold the door open, but the bottom starts to release and then flap out. Other than that, this is pretty much near enough perfect for me. Dan Durston, you did well, mate.